Senator Belle Farm and the Belle family. Come with me up the muddy road in the 1800s to the top of Belle Hill, where Senator Belle could sit on his front porch and see the ships sailing on the ocean and the lights of Star Island. Oh, how I kept on putting off doing the research on the Belle family. And the reason is it is so extensive. And all the Belle brothers kept on reusing their names of John and Lewis's. So it was very hard to research. It was the infamous Belle family that helped get the Chester Village Cemetery on the historic registry. This video is all about the Belle men, but let us not forget the women who raised these men and who kept the home front going when these men went off to the Civil War. Today, I am at the Village Cemetery in the center of Chester, New Hampshire, which happens to be on the National Historic Registry. And in the center of the cemetery, look for a large mound beside a tree, and this is where John Belle is buried. John Belle's parents came from Ireland to Londonderry. John followed his brother Jonathan into Chester. Jonathan had bought the Dexter house, and John bought the Bittersweet Blessings house, and there's a YouTube on both of them if you'd like to learn more. John Belle was the 12th governor of the state of New Hampshire. His portrait still hangs in the State House. He was not only a governor, he was a state senator and a state representative. This is a fabulous poster that the Chester Historical Society has on display in its museum at Stevens Memorial Hall. The poster is of Charles H. Belle running for governor of the state of New Hampshire. He does become governor, like his father, John Belle, which is buried in the mound in the Chester Cemetery. He not only was governor, but he was also a U.S. senator. And to the left of John Belle's mound is the Belle plots. And these are all infamous Belles. And in the center, the very large monument is Samuel Belle. Senator Belle was the 8th governor of New Hampshire. He was so beloved, he received 98% of the vote. He served for 4 terms. He became a senator, and when he returned from Washington, D.C., he purchased the land on one of the 3 highest points in Rockingham County and built the house that is now called Senator Belle Farm. On display in the Chester Historical Society Museum is a book which Chief Justice Richardson gave to Senator Belle. Senator Belle's son, Lewis, must have inherited the book because he signed it on the inside cover. Stay tuned to the amazing story of what happens to Lewis at Senator Belle Farm. Samuel Dana Belle was the firstborn child of Senator Belle. He was born in 1798. He received his law degree at Dartmouth, and he was a state representative and on the state Supreme Court for 15 years. He was also once a president of the New Hampshire Historical Society in the 1800s. He had a son, which was a state representative also. Senator Belle's second son was Dr. John Belle. He studied in Boston and Paris. He was editor of the New York Medical Journal. He died at the age of 30. James Belle was a U.S. senator. I saw his cenotaph when I went to the Congressional Cemetery in Washington, D.C. this past spring. If you remember, a cenotaph is a tombstone, which means a person is not buried there, but it is a great honor. There are not that many cenotaphs in the cemetery, only about a dozen, and he is beside John Quincy Adams. Luther Belle graduated from Bowdoin at 17 years old. He received his medical degree from Hanover Medical School. He was a physician, a medical writer, and he cared for the insane. He died as a soldier during the Civil War. After Dr. John Bell died at 30 years old, Senator Bell had another baby boy the next year and named him also John. He also became a doctor. He graduated from Dartmouth and Pennsylvania Medical University. He served as a surgeon during the Civil War. Charles Bell graduated from Brown University and Philadelphia Medical School. He practiced in Concord, New Hampshire for his brief career as he died at the age of 22. He also wrote the first history of Chester. Lewis Bell was the youngest son of Senator Bell. He was a lawyer, and he went off to war, leaving a pregnant wife and a toddler living at Senator Bell Farm. Here at Fort Fisher, a sharpshooter hit him in the spine, and he laid paralyzed but conscious, and would not let his men move him until he was told of the victory at Fort Fisher. He died soon after. President Lincoln and his Secretary of War commissioned him as general and dated the date of the battle. I'm so happy to see the sword, broken sword, that he asked for, and that his General Lewis is on his stone. He wrote a letter back to his wife in Chester before this battle, and he wrote to her, "If I am killed, bury me near my father, and have carved on the northeasterly side of my father's monument a broken sword and my name with killed in battle. Let me be buried in uniform with my saber resting on my breast. My last thoughts will be for the future of our children and for the happiness of my darling wife." The body of General Lewis Bell was brought back to Chester. In the front parlor of Senator Bell Farm, his body laid in a metal casket. He was dressed in a blue Union Army general uniform. Alongside him was a sword he carried throughout the war. Sadly, his wife Mary had their only and newly born son, which Lewis had never met, baptized at his funeral in the front parlor of Senator Bell Farm. Lewis's wife, Mary, died 3 months later of what is said to be of a broken heart. She is buried beside Lewis. So my first question is, who raised their baby that was 1.5 months old and christened at his father's funeral? Baby Bell was named after his father, Lewis. He was born in the Senator Bell Farm. I have no idea who raised him. He attended Phillips Exeter, Dartmouth College, and Johns Hopkins, and received his PhD in physics. He was a professor of physics at Purdue, where he developed the course in electrical engineering. He published the magazine The Electrical World. In 1889, he became a member of Bliss and Bell Consulting and went to Chicago and Iowa to install the electric railway. He became chief engineer of the power transmission department of General Electric. He installed the first in the world 3-phase transmission plant in California. He invented an electrical signaling device that was used in World War I. He took out over 25 patents. To say the least, this orphan baby was a huge success in life. He is buried to the left of his father, General Lewis. The next family to live at Senator Bell Farm was W.H. Underhill. Now, the Underhill family was a very famous family who made edge tools, and I highly suggest going to the Auburn Historical Society to see the extensive display. The 120-acre Senator Belle farm is now a boarding, training, and show barn owned and operated by Joanna Summerlin. Thank you for watching another Chester Historical Society moment with Jackie Brown.